Welcome to the Invested Dads Podcast, simplifying financial topics so that you can take action and make your financial situation better. Helping you to understand the current world of financial planning and investments, here are your hosts, Josh Robb and Austin Wilson.
Probably does. That's probably why I'm thinning. It's like probably why my hair's thinning on my head.
Beer for men in a cup. All right, we can rock this. All right, hey, welcome back to the Invested Dads Podcast, a podcast where we take you on a journey to better your financial future. Today, we, Josh, you and me, are going to talk about subscriptions.
Yes. How many people have subscribed to the Invested Dads Podcast?
That is a lot, but if you know someone who hasn't, share this with them.
That's right.
They sure could.
Yeah, then we'll be talking about them as a subscriber.
See, it's just a circle of life. So, actually, Josh, that's not quite what we're talking about. But we are talking about those silly subscriptions, or not so silly, where you pay a fee for a recurring product or service.
All right. So we're looking at not free subscribe to this podcast, but I'm subscribing to something, goods or services,
Correct,
that cost me money.
Cost you money.
And instead of having to each make the decision, go out and buy it again, they're going to deliver it to me automatically based on me saying I want this reoccurring.
Correct.
All right. So I did some research.
I like your research.
And I found that subscription business has gone back hundreds of years.
So before
1600s.
Our parents were born.
That's right. 1600s. And I'm like, there's no way. There's no way there was a Dollar Shave Club being delivered by horse.
What are you subscribed to? The Black Plague?
The horseshoes.
Delivered to your house.
Custom horseshoes. But it turned out it was newspapers and magazines.
Okay.
Makes sense. When I thought back, of course, right? That's how everybody got their news.
I bet the photo quality was exceptionally high.
It was hand-drawn. It was hand-drawn. But that was it, though, right? So if I wanted my news in the 1600s, most people got it through written newspapers.
I feel like newspapers today are still from the 1600s.
They haven't. Yeah, there's some dying areas there in the media. But that was the idea was, okay, I could go to the corner and have that kid, the newsie, selling me a newspaper for 5 cents or whatever.
Child labor.
But if it's easier for me, I want to have my coffee in the morning and drink my chai tea for me or whatever, I could have it delivered.
True.
And then I'd have it ready to go. And so it's a convenience. I'm paying for this product or service, and there's a convenience is it's going to come to me automatically.
Yep. Yeah, we've actually seen kind of an acceleration of subscription services in the last 5-10 years.
Yes.
And what comes to mind to me as someone who looks at this kind of researchy kind of stuff all the time is the software as a service push. Mm-hmm. So obviously you can have goods as a service, you can have software as a service. Software as a service, fun acronym is SaaS, SaaS. Very clicky word in the finance industry.
So that company is being very sassy.
They're a sassy company.
Yeah.
And so this is really, a lot of companies are moving from a business model where the revenue is made from a customer purchasing at one time to a business model where they're receiving revenue over time.
Yep.
So one example that comes to mind is Microsoft.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember the days of Windows Millennium Edition, Windows 98, Windows XP, all of those operating systems. You had to buy the software, and you got a software key, and you bought that software once, and then you're done. You stopped giving Microsoft your money. As long as you had that on your computer, you're good to go.
Good.
But nowadays, and all of the Word and stuff that came with it.
Yep.
Nowadays, that's not the way it works. Nowadays, you have Office 365 or whatever, and you pay a subscription per month to have access to all of their software and stuff like that.
And you get the most recent all the time.
Yes, and we're going to talk in a little bit about the consumer benefits of that, but that is kind of how that stuff works.
There was also a survey that the Harris Poll put on behalf of Zora, I think is how you pronounce it.
The Mask of Zora?
We'll link that in the show notes. But the idea was they surveyed a bunch of people internationally and found that 71% of adults across 12 different countries have a subscription service. 5 years ago, or 5 years before that survey, I think that survey was 2 years ago in 2018. 5 years ago, it was half. It was 53%. So we've seen an increase in people that do that. Yeah,
I would imagine that's even more in 2020 because that's a couple years old.
Yep.
And with being everyone at home all the time and stuff like that.
Yep. And I'm wondering if some of those just missed, because as I was looking through and thinking about my subscriptions, there's things I probably, if I was just asked on a phone call or a survey, I probably would have said no, or at least left some out and not realized it. Like Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
For the people that use that for the free shipping, that's a subscription service. Oh, yeah. And so, there's a lot of people that use that. And so, there's those things that maybe if you said, well, I don't really do like those home meal boxes, I may have not realized what a subscription service, or even Word, like Microsoft.
Yeah.
We subscribe to that. We have that, and okay, that would count. So yeah, you're right.
Yeah, and so I'm going to nerd out a little bit because that's what I do. I'm a nerd. In an article from Multi-Channel Merchant, they found that subscription businesses, on average, are growing revenues 5 times faster than the overall S&P 500 revenue. So when this article came out, that was 18.2% revenue growth on average for subscription businesses versus 3.6% for the overall market. That's huge.
Yes.
And U.S. retail sales in that sort of segment were up 18.2% average versus 3.7%. So the software side of things is outpacing the overall market in any way you cut it.
Yeah.
And this is an incredible opportunity to scale. So it's no wonder that these are becoming very, very popular. And actually, if you look at the stock market, you can see that companies who have that subscription service as their business model, so I'm thinking of things like Salesforce, thinking things like Microsoft, things like Adobe, that is kind of their niche, is the software as a service platform. Those subscription service platforms are being generously rewarded by investors, as investors are very excited about what that provides for them, and they have really bid up those stock prices, and they're willing to pay a lot higher price for what they're getting because of that stable growth.
Now, the downside to that is there's very little entry costs. If I have a great idea and I want to charge a subscription service or membership, some people call it a membership, however you want to look at it, Dollar Shave Club for Men, Mustache, what was that other? There's like Sasquatch, Mr. Sasquatch. I mean, there's all those
Squatch.
Dr.
We're going to get there when we go through the examples.
So, but those are things that they have a product, but they chose the route of, instead of stocking store shelves, to go directly to consumer.
Really low barriers to entry.
Yes. So that is the downside, is that you could have a great idea, but multiple people can copy you, and depending on marketing and their reach, they may beat you, even though you may be the first idea.
And some other benefits from a company side of things are that so from a marketing and advertising standpoint, they can market those little bite-sized monthly or whatever periodic expenses. Those are a lot easier to sell and market than it is, hey, you got to pay $500 up front or whatever for this. An example that I was just reading about today, and today is the 25th of September. So I was just reading about this in this week's Barron's. And so Microsoft is coming out with their new gaming console, the Series X, later this year. That is going to be available as a subscription, so you don't actually pay for the platform up front.
Okay,
because
so
the
get the box.
Yeah, the upfront cost is the biggest barrier to people owning it.
Oh, yeah.
So I think, and they're also coming out with a refreshed Series S or whatever, so there's 2 different tiers. So for $24.99 a month for the smaller one, or $34.99 a month for the new Big Daddy one.
How many months? 5 years?
2 years.
2 years.
So you are paying for that over 2 years, and you get software subscription along with it, where you get games and stuff for free. So that's a new example that I just found out about today.
Sidebar on that. How confusing is Xbox's progression of consoles as opposed to PlayStation's? So you have PlayStation, PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4. Guess what's coming out next?
5.
Yeah, look at that.
No, Xbox went Xbox, then Xbox
360. Then went backwards to 1, then Xbox something.
Well, they've had the one.
Yeah, then
X
Slim, and then they.
Now they're having the Series X.
So confusing. Yeah.
So I'm a little confused as well.
But okay, count numbers.
Here's a poll: are you a Xboxer or a PlayStationer?
So I currently own an Xbox 360, which is I say currently, it's the most recent one I own of one.
I had one of those when I was in high school.
I know. That's how old it is. And so that's the last game console that I've owned. Now, my one son has a Nintendo Switch, which I would say is a newer.
Yeah.
I don't know if I call it a console. You can play it on the TV, but it's also mobile, so it's one of those hybrid type of things. But yeah, there hasn't been any new. I've debated a PlayStation because it also is a Blu-ray player as well,
Right.
but I do not. What about you?
Maybe these subscriptions will get you on board with the next generation.
Maybe.
I was a Nintendo guy growing up, and I still have the original Nintendo 64 that we
Yep.
had when we were kids.
With GoldenEye?
We were not allowed to play GoldenEye.
Oh, man.
But
Too
I have
violent.
played it since then when I grew up.
And we're allowed to make your own decisions.
Yeah, it's an awesome game.
It's the best.
But I would literally sell everything and just play Mario Kart 64. I also love Super Smash Brothers. So I was a
Super Smash
Nintendo guy. We got a GameCube. GameCubes are cool. Loved Super Smash Brothers was the main thing on GameCube. But
they have that now for the Switch.
yeah,
It is a lot of fun. It feels
love it.
like
The
the
originals.
old school.
so
Yep.
then in high school I got a free Xbox 360 because it died, and I was able to fix it,
Nice.
which was weird. And then I kept that through college, sold it, didn't have video games for a while, and then last year my wife got me a Xbox One,
Nice.
which is nice, and I have a steering wheel for it, and I can play like racing games and stuff like that. So
Awesome.
it's pretty cool. So anyway, I'm an Xbox guy now. So Series X, we'll probably do a actual video game episode.
Yeah,
that's
we
not
could
really
talk
what
through
the
it.
point of today is. It's software and subscriptions in general, but
But that is
part of it.
yes.
it's a
and
very
you're
popular
seeing
thing.
that being moved in all different because you used to subscribe or you used to buy the game.
Correct.
Now you can subscribe and get series.
Access
and
to all
stuff.
kinds of games.
It's interesting.
Another couple benefits for these businesses are the aspect of recurring revenue. So obviously, even if you're not paying that $500 up front for the Xbox, you're spreading that out over time. But that overtime revenue, it's coming in.
Yep.
It's steady and it's great. So from a business standpoint, that steady cash flow is a very, very good thing to have. They also can then better plan and plan their supply chains for things that are like physical subscriptions.
Yes.
They know how many people are going to be expecting things and when they're going to be expecting them, so they could have better, tighter inventory and stuff like that.
And along with that, when you think about their marketing revenue, or they're trying to keep their current subscribers. So a lot of businesses, once they make that transaction, they're out looking for their next customer, right? Because they need those new purchases. But if I have subscription, I'm trying my best to keep you here. And so they're spending their marketing budget's a little different. Is I want to make
Right.
sure I'm in front of the people subscribing to say, hey, look at all the value you got using me. Don't let your subscription lapse.
Yeah.
And so they're kind of switching how they're marketing too. Is they do need new subscribers, but keeping the subscribers is even more important.
That's why specifically for things like software, that's why you don't just get the same access to the same software forever. You get the constant updates
Yes.
and all that,
Yep.
which is
The
really
value add.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
really great from a consumer standpoint, but from a business standpoint, that's why they're giving you that new update is so that you stay with them.
Yep.
Speaking of software, another reason that this is such a lucrative business model is the margin enhancement. So think about software. Josh, you develop a fancy software to automatically use artificial intelligence to detect donut scores.
Yes.
You can look at a donut and tell you what the score
How great
is.
it's going to be.
So Josh develops this software. It's a paid app on the App Store.
Yep.
So Josh, you put your app on the App Store, and obviously you give your 30% cut to Apple. Touchy subject.
Unfortunately.
It's a touchy subject. But then, you've already made it. It's done. And maybe there's a little bit of background work, but you've made it. You put all the hours and time and money into developing it. Now you're selling it, and the more you sell more and make more than the ongoing investment you're going to have to make to maintain it.
Yes.
So what for any business who makes software, sure, you spend a lot of time and money developing the software,
Upfront.
but the maintenance and of the software going forward is much less than the scalability once that software is out and growing. So it's a very, very lucrative business model where margins expand greatly.
Yep.
And that's another reason that people are very willing to spend very, very high multiples on these software companies in the stock market.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, that was great. That was a good intro. I think we got a good idea of why businesses would choose this route instead of hoping customers show up at their door. Austin, let's take a break. Dad joke. You
Dad
got one
joke
for
of the
me?
week. Oh, I got one.
ready.
Mathematician. This is a statistical one.
Oh, boy.
Why did the mathematician get fat?
Why did the mathematician get fat? I don't know, Austin.
Because he ate too much pie.
Too much pie. 3.14. slices.
How many digits do you know of that?
Oh, geez.
3.14 is about as far as I go.
That says I need to go.
There's hundreds.
It's endless, I believe.
Oh my goodness, I can't do that.
Yeah. 3.141579. I don't know.
If someone, you're just making up numbers, obviously.
I'm just throwing numbers out right now.
So here's a sidebar. Do you like pie or cake better?
Ooh, that's a great question. It depends on both of those.
Yeah?
Yeah. So my wife is a wedding photographer. I help her out. So most Saturdays we are at a wedding and we are eating some sort of dessert because that's the tradition.
Time out. If you do not remember, that's actually how Josh and I met.
Yes.
They photographied
our
wedding.
We took pictures
all those years
at
ago.
your wedding.
So anyway, back to Josh.
Yes. So I will say because of that, I eat cake more often than most people, which is a positive in my life. But I get excited when the wedding has pie because that's something I don't always get. So
right.
I would say I get more excited about pie because it's less frequent of a thing in my life. I like fruit pies. So an apple pie, cherry pie, strawberry rhubarb pie. Now I'm lactose intolerant, so I don't do ice cream. But if I could have some dairy-free ice cream, vanilla ice cream along with the pie, then you're all set. Man. I mean, that's it. That's where it's at. Yeah. What about you?
I'm the same.
You're pie
guy.
Pie guy.
I eat, and I prefer fruit pies.
Mm-hmm.
I don't hate cake, and I have a thought about cake, but pies specifically. Strawberry rhubarb is my second favorite.
Oh, so good.
Peach
pie is good.
Especially when in season is my first favorite pie.
That is good.
So I love pie. A scoop of vanilla ice cream is my jam. But cake, so you're at a lot of weddings. They do the white cake cutting and all that stuff. There's the tradition to take the top piece of the cake or whatever, put it in the freezer, and eat that on your first
that's horrible.
Anniversary. We tried that, and I don't think we actually ate it.
Oh, it's so bad.
Because it sounds so bad.
Yeah, like, how can this last a year?
It's going to be freezer burnt for sure.
It's alien wrapped in saran wrap. It's horrible.
So, sidebar. That's pretty gross.
I mean, 15 years ago, I remember we did that.
You just threw it away when you moved?
It was we tried it, and it was not good. I mean, the frosting was fine because it was just cold frosting, but cake's not designed to last that long. So I don't know who started that tradition, but
they haven't had freezers that good for that long, so it has to be relatively.
Or they did it before and it was just really gross cake.
That's
like
just some really
moldy and
really
rock
frugal
hard.
people. I'm gonna save this cake for next year.
I could see going on and ordering the same cake and eating it as a tradition. Like that would be a better tradition. Like let's reenact 1 year anniversary
with a new
cutting of the like you actually get a small little tier of wedding cake
subscription service.
Oh man, you could send a cake
every year on your anniversary.
Get a cake.
You could get a small little cake sent. Josh,
trademark.
We could be onto something.
We're on
there.
it.
So also the saying, "You can have your cake and eat it too." Never really understood what that means.
Well, you either have your cake or if you've eaten it, you no longer have your cake.
But do you?
Yeah, it's gone.
It's there.
Well, it depends on how much you eat.
So, all right, we should get back to business. What does software, not software, it's not just software, but what does subscriptions in general mean for you as the consumer listening to this?
So the big one is obviously automation, right? I'm asking them to do something for me periodically, and I'm going to pay them or set up a reoccurring payment. So Dollar Shave Club, we're both guys. We both tend to grow facial hair. We need to shave it periodically. And so the idea there is I'm going to tell you, hey, once a month, I need some new razors. Send me some razors. And they said, oh, we'll do that for you. Here's how much we'll charge. And we're going to keep doing it until you tell us to stop.
Yep.
And so for me, that's great. If I'm going to need something over and over.
Yeah.
Amazon Prime has their
subscribe
and save. And so they actually give you a discount if you reoccur, because for them, it's reoccurring revenue. And for you, toilet paper, which was probably out of stock there for a while. But in general, the idea is something that's a staple in my life that I'm always going to need to replenish, paper towels, all those things. I could have it delivered to my door so I don't have to make a trip out.
Right. That's also a danger, is that automation. And we'll talk about that in a second.
Yes.
But another one is that you really have better control over what you're paying for when you subscribe. Mm-hmm. So you really know exactly what you're getting, and you only subscribe to things that you want, and you're not getting any of the fluff you don't need.
Yep. And along that too, another subscription service is TV channels, right? So there's cable TV, you can subscribe to that, or there's the digital streaming services. I have better control now than I had 15 years ago. I had to choose whatever package was there, and the channels showed up whatever they chose to be on there. Now I can pick and choose. Okay, I want more sports. I'll go this package. I'll choose this subscriber. If I want any, now it's becoming individual channels have their own subscription. So if I want a certain channel stuff, I could just subscribe to them. So you do have better control over what you're getting.
You also, it's just really easy to use, which is great. And like the Amazon thing, you just click subscribe and save, and those things automatically come. Or you set it up once, and you don't have to think about it. So I like the shaving thing is a great example, especially for things that you run out of. It's great to have one automatically come at your door without you even having to think, oh, I'm about to run out. So that's really, really good. Another one is freshness. So if like you subscribe for consumable things, you can subscribe for those things, and you're always getting fresh stuff. It doesn't expire, things like that.
And for, depending where you live, if you're in a big city, transporting and doing, getting groceries could be an inconvenience to lug that all the way up the state. All the ins and outs of finding a parking spot, if you even drive a car, all that stuff. Well, if they'll just deliver it to me, all the better. And I can subscribe to have food delivered to me, or, fresh produce, all that stuff. Or prescriptions, that you can subscribe to those. And that, again, is an expiring but needed piece of, I don't know, what do you call it, consumables.
Right.
That, man, if I have somebody say, okay, you have a 30-day supply, this is coming to you the 29th day, so you're ready to go, and it's consistent and showing up, that it does make it a lot easier for your life. Another
one that we had talked about a little bit is software. And when you subscribe and you pay for that, you are constantly getting the newest, the latest, the best, the safest from a security standpoint. Like all of these updates, you get a phone update or an iPad update or whatever. Half of the things that's new is fixing bugs and security bugs and holes. I mean, Apple products don't really have those things, so...
I don't know, I just had an update. Something was getting fixed.
But anyway, it's just great to have that software. But back to the dangers of those automatic renewals. It is somewhat frustrating sometimes if, like, you sign up for a free trial and then you get billed because you forgot on 14 days to cancel it or whatever.
By the way, MasterCard, I read, now requires free trials to send an email or text before they start, or else MasterCard will block them. That's pretty interesting, huh?
So if you have a subscription, you better put it on your MasterCard.
Yes. So if you sign up for a free trial and you're using a MasterCard, apparently, based on what I read, is they're requiring those places because of this issue to... Now, that won't stop them from charging. As long as they send you a reminder and alert, then they'll let it go through. But if they're just secretly kind of letting it push through with forgotten, they'll step in on your behalf, which is nice. But that shows the problem. If MasterCard had to do something for you, that there must have been enough pushback.
Yeah, because I'm sure a lot of people are looking at their statement at the end of the month and like,
where'd this come from?
I wonder what this $14 whatever is. So I guess just the tip is to be careful, because it's really easy to have duplicates or too many of these little, they seem small, these subscription things, because they're a low cost on a dollar basis per month, they really add up. So just keep an eye on
in frequency. So let's say you sign, and they'll say, hey, you got a year's worth. Well, I better remember 12 months from now to reevaluate if I still want that, because up till then I haven't seen anything pop up, and it may be back of my mind that I even did that 12 months ago. I mean, with life going on, sometimes you forget that stuff.
Set a reminder.
Set a reminder.
Your phone.
Use your calendar or something.
No one uses a calendar. On your phone.
Yeah,
maybe.
calendar on your phone. You put a little thing in there and say, reminder. But
so bring it home, Josh. What subscriptions do you have? I'll
try to name some of them.
Some of the entertainment things. Yeah. Now, we did have a complete episode of streaming.
Yes.
So it's called Streaming Wars. If you're interested, look at that, where we talked about video streaming, streaming video on demand, SVOD. So we talked about some of those, but kind of rattle those off. But then some of the other less common things.
So I use, right now, we have Hulu as our streaming service, and then Disney Plus as well.
Did you have ESPN Plus too? You got the bundle?
No, so we already had in Hulu, you have ESPN, so I didn't have to add ESPN Plus. I don't need it, so I didn't go for the bundle, but you're right. And then... what else do I have? A subscription. Well, my wife with her photography, Adobe, which has their recurring subscription. And then, let's see, Netflix and then Amazon Prime are our primary ones that I could think of from a subscription service.
Shaving?
I do not do any of those.
Don't shave?
I don't shave. I just use by razors. I haven't gone that route yet, but that's always one that keeps popping up as potential use. we've tried in the past those food deliveries. Again, they'd offer a deal of
like HelloFresh or
Blue Apron or HelloFresh. We've tried a couple of them, just more out of curiosity than anything. And they'll give you a discount deal to try it for a couple months or whatever. And they're great, but with 4 kids and
it's not sustainable.
It's hard to get the amount of food right. And then when you have kids that are not as they don't like to try new things.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they like to keep what works. So, you know, I haven't met a food delivery service that's peanut butter and jelly consistently. So, you know, that's the other thing is sometimes they'll send you something that's really good, but your kids don't eat it. So you just look at what you paid, and they're not going to eat it.
Yeah.
So
the mom and dad salmon rice pilaf meal with then the chicken nuggets and mac and cheese for the kids.
That's
doesn't really happen. That could be another
storage units. I don't have one, but when we moved, we temporarily got one while we were selling our house to move some stuff because we lived in Indiana, then moved back to Ohio. So there was a time period where stuff was in transition, and we used the storage unit. So that I didn't realize it, but when I was looking through it, that's a subscription service. I'm paying reoccurring to keep my stuff there. And so for about 2 months, we had that for a while. So that was another one that we don't currently have, but is a gym membership. So we used to have a membership to a gym, which is, again, a reoccurring service for the ability to go work out at a location.
Exactly.
What about you, Austin? What do you use?
Well, the entertainment side of things, we do have Netflix, although we think we're canceling it. The Cuties thing really wasn't the push, but we were already not using it very much. That was annoying and weird. Not to get into that. But, so we have that. We have the combo of Hulu, Disney Plus, and ESPN Plus, which is really great. Yes. We love Hulu. Hulu's just amazing. And Disney Plus, we're going through the Marvel series with my brother-in-law and my sister once a week. So it's just great to be able to work through those. And then we have a free year or whatever because of a new device of Apple TV Plus.
Oh, I do have that, and I set a reminder to cancel or at least reevaluate it in January.
And then I haven't watched anything on it yet. And then, but it looks good. And then we have Apple Music, so we get our music subscription for that and a family membership on that. Apple's launching Apple One or whatever, where they're bundling like Apple Music and Apple TV Plus and Apple and iCloud and all that. So we're probably going to end up with that. We have Amazon Prime, so we love that. I have 2 hygiene subscriptions. I like to not stink.
Yes.
So that's good.
Smell good, you do.
Thank you. So Dr. Squatch is this is not in any way, shape, or form sponsored by them, but hey, if you want to sponsor us, Dr. Squatch, hook us up. I love your soap. It's like a natural soap and shampoo thing, but I really like it. It's really manly smelling. So I get like a bar of soap a month.
Oh, nice.
And then every 3 months I get a shampoo conditioner thing.
So bar of soap.
Yeah.
Not a liquid soap guy. You like the bar of soap.
Old school. I'm old school. And then I get Harry's is a shaving brand. I get a Harry's razor subscription I only get it whenever I need it.
Okay.
But they usually
so
send
you can pause and start it. Okay.
Yeah, and they usually send like 8 razors at a time, and that lasts a long time because I usually have some form of facial hair. So 1 razor lasts a while. So I'm trying to think if there's any other subscriptions we have. We're evaluating Instacart. We've tried it a couple times for free and kind of dig it. It's free grocery delivery. It's not free once you pay for it, but that seems like a pretty cool subscription. And I'm sure there's other ones, but those are kind of the main ones.
Those are the big ones.
So
is there a Chick-fil-A subscription service? I just had Chick-fil-A delivered to my house whenever I needed to.
I would get the Chick-fil-A breakfast burrito subscription if they had that. Have you had their breakfast burrito?
I've had their sandwich, not the burrito.
You got
the one with the biscuits.
Breakfast burrito, and it's like a scrambled burrito, whatever. Get it with sausage. It's so good. And then it has potatoes in it, and it comes with those little potatoes.
We should not do this podcast while we're hungry.
I know.
It's bad.
So, subscriptions, Josh. Wrap us up.
Yeah, so in general, the idea is for a company, it's a way of reoccurring revenue. It helps smooth out your income basis. So instead of hoping that customers show up, I'm committing these customers to a certain time period. So that's great for the business. For the subscriber, for the customer, it's nice, convenient for me. It makes it so that I don't have to remember to go get something that's going to show up to me or provide the most up-to-date thing for me. So both parties are getting value from this. So there's a lot there. The downside is, like we talked about, is because it's reoccurring, your priorities or your tastes may change where you may not use or need it, and it's up to you to cancel. The company's not going to say, hey, we realize you're not using this as much. Do you want to stop this? They're not going to do that.
They'll bill you until you stop.
Now, there are apps and products out there that are designed, so it shows you how this industry is evolving. Now there's apps to tell you how to check all your subscriptions and which ones you need to cancel.
I bet there's a subscription to use that.
The subscription to subscribe to your unsubscribing. So that is out there. But in general, the whole advancement of technology has allowed people to use these reoccurring things. Again, it's going back all the way to the 1600s. It's not something new, but it's evolved over time as new technology has been there to more things in our sphere of influence are being impacted by subscriptions.
Yeah. So that's a lot. That's kind of an interesting theme that we're seeing, and we thought we'd talk about that with an episode this week. But we are just happy that you guys are listening and hope that you learned something. As always, check out our free gift to you. It's a brief list of 8 principles of timeless investing. It's free on our website. These are overarching investment themes meant to keep you on track to meet your long-term goals. Josh, how can people help us grow this podcast?
Well, they could start a subscription with our podcast.
That's right.
Please subscribe. It's free, though, so it doesn't count as what we talked about. You can also leave a review on Apple Podcasts. It's great for us to better rank so more people can find us. Ideas. We're big on that. So please, if you have an idea, send us an email at hello@theinvesteddads.com, and we'd love to talk about that topic.
Yeah, and if you really enjoyed this, share this episode with friends and family who may enjoy it as well.
All right, we'll talk to you next week.
Next Thursday. Thanks.
All right, bye.
Thank you for listening to the Invested Dads podcast. This episode has ended, but your journey towards a better financial future doesn't have to. Head over to theinvesteddads.com to access all the links and resources mentioned in today's show. If you enjoyed this episode and we had a positive impact on your life, leave us a review, click subscribe, and don't miss the next episode. Josh Robb and Austin Wilson work for Hicks & Zerker Capital Management. All opinions expressed by Josh, Austin, or any podcast guests are solely their own opinions and do not reflect the opinions of Hicks & Zerker Capital Management. This podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be relied upon for investment decisions. Clients of Hicks & Zerker Capital Management may maintain positions in the securities discussed in this podcast. There is no guarantee that the statements, opinions, or forecasts provided herein will prove to be correct. Past performance may not be indicative of future results. Indices are not available for direct investment. Any investor who attempts to mimic the performance of an index would incur fees and expenses which would reduce returns. Securities investing involves risk, including the potential for loss of principal. There is no assurance that any investment plan or strategy will be successful.